always finds a way to win. And when he's back in our White House, America is going to start winning again.
He's got a higher IQ than any man alive. He's going to fix everything.
The price of food and gas and housing is out of control. And the only person who can clean this up is Donald Trump.
He'll fix the problems with all the dead crops. He's going to make them grow again.
He's going to win in November, and we're all going to be champions again when he wins.
I give you my word. He's going to fix the economy.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I wish that happened. I would have fully come out and endorsed him if that happened. Rocking a couple like Uzis, like Steven Seagal coming out. That would have been fantastic. Hey, folks, welcome to News from the Pew. It's the internet, and we talk about things. I am your host, sitting outside of my beautiful trailer right here, Rick Barrett, the Armed Catholic. This is what I want, folks. This is why you all need to start a GoFundMe so I can have one of these, so I don't have to fly on planes anymore. I'll take a Springfield. It's nice, but I prefer an Airstream because I have such high standards. But no, thank you for much. Yeah, that's not much more. You people can work on it. But I am also suspended on X for 7 days because X is stupid. So if you haven't seen, if you're trying to interact with me on there and you're like, why isn't Rick? Yeah, it's because X is suspended because they're dumb. But outside of that, I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday. We did not have a show yesterday because the appliance people decided to make the 4-hour block a 6-hour block. And I just didn't want to have to make Steve wait on all of that. But I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. And Steve looks like he is totally adjusting to everything normally.
Well, I was trying to, we got the Ukraine flags, the Israeli flags. I forgot.
Actually, your bandage is on the wrong ear, but that's
is it? Darn it! I got the wrong script.
Yeah. That's next month. That's the other one, but
well, everyone was taking the. I don't know if you saw the fake video that everybody was sending. Even Alex Jones. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It had DJT looking the other way. It had some lady that wasn't even in the original photo behind him, but everybody, literally everyone was so. This is proof. One guy, a good dude. I won't bring his name to incriminate him. Sent it, and I immediately go, "Hey man, take 2 seconds to do some due diligence. It's a fake video." He was, "Oh yeah." The cult flavor of the RNC putting all the things up on the ears. So, mea culpa. I went with the wrong ear, but I was go with. Hey, I was doing the fake video here.
You were close. You were AI. That was AI, Steve.
It was a 50-50.
That's how it missed. You had to look for the fingers. The fingers were not doing well. But outside of that, everything A-okay. But it's been a while. It's another week and another series of historical once-in-a-generation things taking place in rapid succession. Funny how, they took a shot at one person and how quickly dominoes fell when they missed him in that regard. All of a sudden, they were like, go to plan B, go to plan B. And if you're Joe Biden, you're like, plan B stinks. I don't really like plan B. But yes, Sunday night, and we did not rush to the airwaves because it is Sunday and it is a day of rest.
Plus, you don't need to be first.
Yeah, we don't need to be first to it. Sunday night, do we have Joey? Did we get the clip? Anything from Joey B stepping down?
No, I just got links leading up to it.
But Joey B, it wasn't really good anyway, because first of all, it was filmed early and he looks honestly like one of those mass creatures that when you don't put the lips on anything, it does not look. I honestly have a ton of empathy for Joe Biden at this point, because the man should literally be surrounded by his kids and his grandkids, talking to a priest every day, getting ready for his eternal reward. But he's being, because of his wife, rolled out in front of cameras and just, it's disgusting. But they made him step down because they're going to 25 a.m. I said they were going to ride with Biden all the way to the convention. Steve thinks it was going to be Big Mike, even though it's not.
The script isn't finished yet.
No, it's not Big Mike. Big Mike Big Mike is writing the script, and she does not want.
Well, apparently Big Mike called Big K.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But at this point, Joe Biden stepped down on Sunday. Apparently he is not filled with enough vigor to run for president, but run for installation. But he is fine to run this union supposedly for another 6 months. You can figure that out, not me. But the idea here is that he's now gone. He's not running for president. So who will step in and fill Joe's shoes? There's only one person we could think of.
He's the first. Was it 4 people that had one term, didn't redo it? But he's the first one to receive the nomination
and then
step out.
It's funny. Both times Catholic Democratic presidents were in the White House, and both got taken out before the end. Both were not allowed to serve a second term. Let's just say that. So
all right. Yeah, well, the first one, at least he was not wanting to go to war.
He's the one who did escalate in Vietnam.
Because we did kill the Catholic president of Vietnam.
Yeah, we did. The CIA coup on the Kennedy gets way too much of a pass on that. He did the Bay of Pigs, right? And then he did escalate in Vietnam. Everybody plays that one clip. Well, if I have to stop, no, he was just as much of a warmonger. I know his son is running around here, or his nephew's running around being like, yeah, he was just as much of a warmonger as everybody else. But anyway,
since FDR, Wilson, all the way up, all the Dems were pro-war, and which goes into another topic we could get into later. But before Lincoln, it was pretty much pro-peace in a sense. You didn't have wars every decade, and the Democrats were the conservative party. After that, you don't have any conservatives anymore. It's radical left and radical right, and guess what you're going to get is, you're not going to get something good for Christmas. You're going to get a big pack of coal, basically.
Yeah, you're going to get a drone missile down your chimney. That's what's going to happen. DAR 863. That's a great point. The other reason they can't have Joe step down is that if he does and Kamala officially assumes the role, even though she's not constitutionally eligible to do it, she's not parents and all that other stuff you want to, but they'd have to pick a VP, and they won't pick a VP before November, which means that the Senate technically could go Republican because the 51st vote would be gone. So it wouldn't be great. So that's another reason why. And also, there is no nominee right now for POTUS. They said Kamala has all the delegates, but they still haven't gotten to the convention yet. So
they said this was a record for fundraising on Sunday, and then the delegates are being pretty much forced to take her, and they were going. A lot of people going, well, that's not mine. We didn't vote for her. We didn't want her. It goes back to 2020 when she had goose egg. Nobody wanted her, and she go from literally thrown out. I'm sure they're going to twist to somehow some like stone that the builders rejected or some crap like that. But zero. Tulsi obliterated her, ended her, and then all of a sudden she's a few how would you say levers away from in charge of the news.
It's also very interesting how the Democratic Party waited, and it's not interesting, it's cold and calculated, how they waited until just after the convention to drop this. So because I think honestly, if they had elevated Harris before the convention, I think Trump picks Gabbard just out of spite to have her on the campaign trail and go run around and say just go say that thing you said in 2020. Just keep saying that for like 100 days. Just go out and do it and so forth. But there are, who said that? Yeah. Lou's correct. The Party of Democracy pretty much did every anti-democratic thing. And yes, a lot of shenanigans are taking place.
Are you
right
not
now.
entertained? It's, I mean, Russell Crowe right there. I mean, this is popcorn related stuff. I mean, first, just to talk about the Democrats that kept people enslaved. Look up the radical Republicans. Stop thinking about what you were told to believe in secular, state-run education camps, indoctrination camps. The North did not care about slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation did not free one slave up north in the United States. It did nothing. There was actually slavery still in the books in Delaware, passed
and Maryland,
passed
as well.
Lincoln's on record saying did not care about that. The abolitionists,
if I could keep the Union together without freeing a slave, I would.
Yeah, the abolitionists.
When I used to teach history, I know I'm going right into a Steve rant, but I'll jump out. When I used to teach history, I used to have my students actually read that letter. And they were like, because nobody ever had them read that letter. But anyway.
Well, the abolitionists, they didn't care about the blacks. They just had this all of a sudden moral outrage after they couldn't get any more money, because guess where the slave trade was coming from? Up north, they made tons of money of that. They just didn't want anybody living with them. It's still segregated. If you go up north, it's still segregated up there. Whereas if you read the Tocqueville, who was a contemporary of that time, he talked about how the races lived in harmony together. It was just that the laws were weren't in their favor. He also condemned and was fearful of the way the United States was going, the way of the European ways of centralized state authority, and was lamenting at the idea that they would go, because centralization leads to totalitarianism, which we have today, which is getting into the the end game of that is global government, which we'll get into today as well, as that is coming. But what you have today is the left Lincolnian right, and the left Lincolnian America versus the left Lincolnian America, all fighting for control over the centralized government. And what you're going to get out of that is a load of coal again. It's the mindset of centralization. You can say anything you want. We'll have the socialist pledge on a little bit because we got some guys out there, trying to out-Zionist everyone else. But the French Revolution for the United States was the quote-unquote Civil War, which was Lincoln's War. And beforehand, you had one different republic, or actually a federal republic, because a republic is a single entity like France. We are a federal republic, or at least were. Now we're the American state. And most people want DC to run everything, which is why Sunday, everyone and their brother was like, oh, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. This is the biggest thing in the world. In reality, it shouldn't have been, and it shouldn't matter. Brandon doing it. By the way, but whoever you vote for, Trump, Brandon, Kamala, Big Mike, it's all going to end the same way. You don't have a savior coming. Sorry if that just heartbreaks anybody, gets you mad. It's going to be the same thing at the end, no matter who's in control of the Titanic, which goes back to this whole thing about Brandon. After the debate, everyone was level. Big.
He was running around saying he was running. He was running around saying, I'm running. And, that's why I said he's going to do it. But
then, and by the way, you think slaves would have been freed? Yeah, they were already talking about that. They were talking about that was going to be into natural death because of the technology.
You couldn't, because of France and Britain. The two major importers of cotton were already, slavery was already outlawed.
Yeah, they were already talking about
and
that.
And the big reason for oh man, what was the stupid thing? I just can't believe I'm having brain farts all over the place. The Emancipation Proclamation was a strategic one. It did that to keep England and France from aligning with the South, because that was the big thing. The South was desperate for any recognition from the international community, right? The quote unquote, if France or England recognize the South as a sovereign nation, boom, Civil War is over. Now
they were losing. The North was losing at the time, and they just tried to turn it into a moral thing, because at first, all they cared about was keeping the empire together. And they're on record saying they wanted to keep the empire together, keep the breakup from going, because they wanted to expand west. Again, the abolitionists didn't want black people expanding west. They didn't care about the slave part of it. They didn't like that part of it. Again, it was all over. and it was all over the world. And so it wasn't just like these hick Southerners that everyone gets vilified all the time. Were the only people doing it. Most people in the South didn't have slaves. I mean, that's contrary to popular opinion. It was like
slaves were expensive, and the South was dirt poor.
Yeah, it was like there's actually Abbeville Institute has a Professor DeLorenzo has a video on Josephine, a slave in Florida, versus the states, and what happened was she killed 2 people. Think about this: a slave, Deep South, killed 2 people, and first off, he gets into this thing about whipping. He goes, "Yeah, people were whipped, all different races, because if you couldn't get fined, you couldn't. I mean, if you couldn't, there had to be some kind of punishment. So if they didn't have money for a fine, well, there was a lashing, and that was their way of paying." Anyway, it's on record. Look it up. You can watch the video. Just type in Josephine Abbeville Institute. You'll see it. And it goes into the court case. The court sided with her. Remember, she killed at this time in the 60s, 70s. I can't remember what year it was. She killed 2 white people, apparently. And they went due diligence throughout the thing and said there was not enough evidence to come out to, and they did who did this, who had this, who tasted this. They went through the list. So people get this idea of, they were non-existent and all this down there. They were non-people. They were just thrown out to the wolves. No, this was a trial, and she had a fair trial and was rendered not guilty because they didn't have enough evidence put away, and she got away with 2 counts of murder. So it goes through the whole idea of, well, that goes against everything because you were taught that if a slave sneezes the wrong way, they just beat the what out of them. Again, down in the Deep South, I mean, blacks owned slaves, whites owned slaves. It was free black people. William Ellison, South Carolina, free black man, richest person in the Confederacy, had the money, started the money for the Confederacy. His own kids were in the artillery. So it's a myth that you get taught from post 1870s.
Well,
people get parrot today.
It's because winners write the history. Winners write history. As Norm Macdonald famously said, we got to find that quote for this one. It's like, wow, when we read the history books, it's a good thing all the good guys won.
All right, to this point about the Supreme Court judge. Okay. Again, this goes into what? Government by judiciary, government by executive. We have to have 9 unelected judges run an entire continent. Why? Why is that? You know what has SCOTUS done for you? Has centralized everything. Why you don't have prayer in school is because they centralized the idea of prayer in school, because some people, what was it? They didn't. There was a local fight over it. Oh, we centralize it. Blanket statement. We centralize it. Blanket statement. We centralize it. Blanket statement. You live with the Supreme Court, you will die with the Supreme Court. And guess what's happened? So we had one ruling go for us. One.
Yeah, Obergefell was given to you by a supposed conservative Supreme Court.
Yeah,
never forget that.
One. And everyone's living off that one. Oh, we got to do it again. Well, guess what? Put Trump in. I guarantee. I'll bet your car and my car. You will get digital ID, CBDC. You might even get Road 2.0 from down the road. You will have more freedoms taken away, not just because it's him, whoever it is. This whole thing with Peter Thiel controlling J.D. Vance, he's now in the White House. He is horrific. That's why I'm losing my mind with all these Catholics just going up. There's none of them talking about the evils with Peter Thiel. We can get into that later.
There was only one person, and that was Brother Andre Marie when he was talking to Mike on, I think, Wednesday. And he wasn't endorsing party. He just brought up the fact that Peter Thiel existed, and Peter Thiel has a lot of connections to JD Vance. He was just making the point, like, hey, nobody's talking about that.
Nobody.
Well, I guess but remember, they don't really buy it because Peter Thiel was in 2016. He was given a primetime spot at the RNC. Everybody remembers I'm gay and I'm a Republican, and the entire arena was like, "Oh, that's not correct." So you already lost that war, man. That war is already over.
Oh,
and I don't mean to cut Steve off, although I do. Paul, I'm just gonna make this one statement, and it's not to disrespect or anything. That the fact that you said, what about Supreme Court arguments, shows you the system is broken. The system is broken and it doesn't work. Now it's the current one we live in, and Steve and I are big onto, hey, I'm big onto if Texas could secede tomorrow and go on our own, see ya. Y'all have good luck with everything. Bye.
Yeah.
But
the South would be number 4 in the world economy,
yeah,
3 or 4.
The South is technically everybody in Texas. Let's just be real about that.
Get Texas
everybody rides in Texas. It's just like football, baby. Just like the SEC, right? Everybody needs Texas.
Texas is allowed to talk out Texas.
Just remember, A&M owns South Carolina in the SEC football. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the South is just everybody in Texas. Let's just make that. But Steve is correct. If the bloc that is the Confederacy seceded, it has its own food supply. It has its own access to ports. It has its own access just with natural resources between Louisiana and Florida and Texas, access to oil, access to all that stuff. There is nothing, and I will say there is nothing that block of the Confederacy, and won't let South Carolina come, that you would need the United States blob for. There's not a thing. Nothing.
Culture wars if you leave too. You end all the culture wars. Again, it goes back to why do you need SCOTUS? I don't know where he lives.
Yeah.
Say you live in Arizona. The heck you need SCOTUS for? You have your own Supreme Court in Arizona. Hence, if you read the Declaration, or people go, Declaration. Yeah, read what it created 13 sovereign states. Sovereign. What does the word sovereign mean? It means they can run themselves.
Because state is like France. You used to call France the state of France, the state of Great Britain, blah, blah, blah.
The state of Israel. They still call it the state of Israel.
Yep.
That's what it is. Now it goes into the whole idea. Do we want to be nationalist and centralist and die by that thing? Because it's not going to fix. You want to live that way? Good luck. It's over. Don't complain anymore because you're pushing for an agenda that's going to destroy you. Or do you want to fight for decentralization, which is the only secular way of winning, of getting out of this stuff? Anyway, all right. So we got the Brandon, the debate. After that, which we talked about it, you and I were on here talking about it. That was probably deliberate because he looked like a complete fool out there.
Terrible.
Oh, it looked awful. And then we said that was deliberate. At the same time, Team USA is taking Photoshops with Kamala. I retweeted. I go, oh, it looks like they're ginning up Kamala after this. Literally, they were already had Kamala all over the place doing photo ops with all X, Y, Z. Brandon was doing nothing. People were actually talking about that. I said, where's Brandon? Brandon's nowhere to be found. And then after that happens this. Schumer Pelosi increased pressure on Biden to step aside. Pelosi told House Democrats that Biden may be soon persuaded to exit race. Remember that? They were talking about them two, his two closest people, were to get together and start asking if he wants to, maybe you need to step aside.
And then they read the 25 a.m.
Yeah. Brandon's, I'm going to miss Brandon. There was a great meme of the Brandon flag at half mast. Brandon's family starts discussing possible exit plan from the 2024 race. You then have the shooting, quote unquote, because I'm still convinced that, sure, all right, did somebody die? Sure. Guess what? 9/11, people died. And I guarantee most of the people watching this are going, you know what? I think the government was part of that thing, especially since the day prior. They were talking about auditing the pentagram. And the next day, the plane does a big corkscrew thing into the audit center of the pentagram. So, yeah, if we believe that they did this, and there's all kinds of false flags all over the place, just because someone else died doesn't mean, they're doing all. What's his face? There's yesterday with the
Well, I'm just leaning to your point that it was set up. That it was. I mean, I really do think they wanted.
The shooter knew. The shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have, and he had a drone, and he picked the AGR building.
And then look at the. You probably can't see my cursor. You look up top, approximate position of gunman. You look at where Trump's stage is, and you see where the screens were for he was looking at. Tell me how's that hit his ear when he's looking at the screen to his right. Anyways, go to that.
So do you remember in an ABC interview you did that you didn't have people on the roof of the AGR building because you were worried about safety because of the slope?
I recall that statement.
Okay. Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about slope roofs?
No.
Okay. So why'd you act like there was one? Because is it your practice to comment on enormous events of enormous national implications when you're ignorant of the facts? That's rhetorical. So here's this thing with the slopes. You go all the way up to like 1812. You can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat.
Hearing all this reminds me of the 9/11 Commission.
And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112. And by the way, the 112 is ADA compliant. It was a nut job on top of the roof. You know what else is dangerous? I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful. And you should
the Republicans
fired
put on a
immediately and go back to
performance
Garden
this day.
Doritos.
I just want to play it because
They did
Garden
such a
Doritos
great
thing,
job.
but
Nancy
it's all
Mace is
theater.
cussing out the whole time. Everybody's like, look at the Republicans doing such a great job. Or a great
it's all
job. He took
theater.
out
Go
the
back.
Dorito lady. Great, good.
Yeah, go back to the 9/11 when they did the same thing, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, they're getting at him." It's just like just a couple weeks ago they did that with Fauci. Oh yeah, they're going after. No one's going to jail. No one's getting anything done. It's just throwing you meat to get at. Say, hey, they're doing something. Ain't nothing getting done. Ain't nothing about it. Again, look who benefits. Cui bono. Right after that happened, people were there. I saw people talking about this. That neutralized Brandon. That whole event neutralized Brandon's mission. His whole idea was to make Trump into the you can't vote for him because he's a tyrannical dictator and needs to be taken out. The whole idea he's Hitler is kind of like, hey, let's pray for Hitler. The whole idea of stuff going on. Trump went sky high after that. And by the way, stop this whole thing about deification. Trump deranged syndrome is just as bad as Trump deification syndrome.
Yep.
If people, I remember people talking about this. And Trump said, if they said that God protected him, where's God on protecting these kids at these shootings that goes on? Stop that. Because again, you're going to lose if I start going in. Oh, so God is for bombing the crap out of people in the Middle East more than Obama. Okay, and I got plenty more to go on that. He's still LGBT pro. Wait. I didn't know that was part of the God agenda. Anyway, so after that, he's neutralized. Then he gets the Rona. And I think I told Rick that. I think Rick and I were talking about this. He's done. They were trying to kill Brandon after that, or something else is going on because, again, all of a sudden, he just gets the Rona. That's the biggest thing after that. He didn't wear a mask. Where was that? Because he was at a Taco Bell or something right before that.
Yeah. Yep. And he was up in the faces. He was up in all of them faces while he had the Rona.
Yeah.
But
again, this is one heck of a script for America's Next Top Zionist. Oh, my bad. America's Next Top President. Because again, who cares about the CEO came the other day? I mean.
Oh yeah. Yep. We might be offline after this, folks. So if not, it's been great talking to you.
This is the standing ovations that the CEO of these United States got. Did you know Fetterman wears a suit?
If you want to know who runs the country, see who Fetterman wears a suit for. That's really how you figure it out.
There was a couple of good guys that didn't go, like Thomas Massey. He said, "I'm not going to be a puppet for this. This is just a show." Again, he's one of the only ones that's worth anything in DC. The rest of these people are garbage. You see how many guys were tweeting about this? Like not Mike Lee, Ted Cruz. He put out thousands of photos of him and Benny.
Yeah. I think he got more standing ovations than Brandon.
He set a record. I didn't know there was a record keeping for this.
There's a record for everything, dude.
I mean, at one time he tells them not to applaud because they were like seals.
He's like, I'm trying to get through this speech. I'm just trying to get through this.
Yeah, they give Trump a bunch of grief for speaking too much. Oh, Benny, go ahead. Yeah, take up the whole afternoon. Imagine playing a drinking game with.
Dude, you'd be dead if there was a drinking game with this one. Dead.
Still going. Hey, in the chat, what do you think it gets up to?
Right? You might as well play this game too, please don't drink.
What's the over-under? Who's got the over-under? I'm putting it at 50.
I'll say he's already at 46. I'll say 55. How much was it? 50?
I lost. I didn't know it was going to stop right there.
48? No, you're closer.
49. Those quitters.
Yeah, right.
And then here's
Well, no, it would have been 50 if he told him not to stay in that one time.
Yeah, that one. It was
So we'll throw that in there.
Inside trading.
Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building.
Oh, man. Well, these guys are getting ready to write for other stuff, so they have to get their stuff in.
What about the maggots? You see about the maggots? There it is, yeah.
The maggots. Hey, man,
Many
they're doing great.
anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Hamas.
And don't be fooled.
Yeah.
This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. I too appeal to America. Give us the tools faster, and we'll finish the job faster.
We'll kill them all.
Just give them nukes. Give them nukes.
No, don't applaud.
Netanyahu began his fiery hour-and-a-half-long speech using incendiary and emotive language, first borrowing words from World War II-era U.S. President FDR, calling the events of October 7th a day that will live in infamy.
Oh, of course.
Netanyahu was met with thunderous applause and multiple standing ovations when he called for continued U.S. support of his war efforts. Aid to Israel, a bipartisan issue in Washington.
Aid to Israel.
He went on to call the protesters outside useful idiots and tools of Iran, at one point even accusing Iran of being involved in the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Thousands are gathered here outside the U.S. Capitol building, where inside...
You notice they talked about Iran being in church.
Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin
dying.
Netanyahu,
They
is
are
addressing
literally trying
the
to get
full
us into a
Congress.
war with Iran. So
Protesters
bad.
here are demanding the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu on the charges of war crimes.
They should absolutely not have invited Netanyahu to our country.
Thank
He
you,
is a
white
war
lady.
criminal.
Oh, the power
And
of white
they should not be
woman.
speaking to him. They've given him an honor that he not only doesn't deserve, but it's despicable.
We don't accept war criminals. We don't host them here. At least that's my hopes.
We just like our own.
And we just want a free
Thanks, Soy Jack.
Palestine. Ceasefire now. It's been too long.
This war criminal should not have come to.
We just like our own. Here's what's his face talking about Iran.
Ourselves, the director of national intelligence came out publicly and said that we do know that Iran has been funding and encouraging some of the protest activity here in the United States. Some of it. We do not believe that all the protest activity out there on a daily basis is being fully funded by Iran. There's a lot of organic concern out there in the American people about what's going on in the Middle.
Because what happened was they ended up the outside. It was kind of like an insurrection. It might be the real one.
Just saying.
So they took the flag and barbecued it, and then we had a few guys go out there and do
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Woo! Yay, socialist pledge. And people get mad. Yes, Francis Bellamy, who penned that, was a socialist who is on record saying he was upset that the northern states were not embracing the spirit of the Lincoln's War and was going back into a state rights type deal or a decentralization idea. So he penned that to promote the message of the war, which was one nation, indivisible, which is contrary to what you celebrated on 4th of July a couple weeks ago. Here's DJ Trump on the flag bearer.
Flag down. They were writing Hamas on the bell outside of Union Station. What does a Donald Trump do if he takes office to these people on the street?
Rarely have we seen anything like this, and I think you should get a 1-year jail sentence if you do anything to desecrate the American flag. Now, people will say, oh, it's unconstitutional. Those are stupid people. Those are stupid people that say that. We have to work in Congress.
No, it was the stupid people. The Supreme Court said that it was totally fine.
Doesn't matter. They're stupid too. Everybody's dumb.
1-year jail sentence. When they're allowed to stomp on the flag and put lighter fluid on the flag and set it afire, and when you're allowed to do that, you get a 1-year jail sentence and you'll never see it again. And all over the world, Putin and President Xi of China, all over the world, they're watching this. Kim Jong-un, he looks at us like we're a bunch of babies. They see that. That wouldn't happen in their countries. It's impossible for that to happen in their country. Where we look so bad to the world. That was a disgraceful display yesterday.
And in case you think that was just a one-time thing, this is from, what year was this? From 2019, 2018?
For what? Oh, yeah, that was 20. No, because it happened in 2018.
Gun violence restraining orders. They're called. California actually has a version of this. And I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps, but the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. And allow due process so that no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
Yeah. Bump stock Donnie. Remember, President Trump had the first gun control ever put through with the bump stock ban. I don't care what you think about it. That was gun control. And some people are like, well, I don't care about it. It opened the door for everything else. So just remember that.
Anybody ever seen Minority Report?
Pre-crime.
That's what he was talking about right there. Pre-crime. Before it happened, we're going to take it from you. Speaking, go ahead. Can I transition into JD?
Wait, you can transition, Steve. Steve is transitioning.
I'm sorry, I took the keys I'll get the keys right back to the Volvo. JD,
all right, buddy.
Who's owned by Peter Thiel, which no Catholic out here is actually talking about. I don't know if they're just ignorant or, well, let me see if I can find that meme. Since we live in a world of memes. I saw this and thought of that. The nationalist not only does not approve of atrocities committed by his own side, he has a remarkable capacity for not even hearing about them. So again, it goes back to what you just saw with DJT talking about getting rid of this. Forgot about this nugget right here. Yeah. Whoop, there it is. He started no wars, but again, he ramped up drone strikes by 432%, escalating remote warfare without oversight. He armed Saudi Arabia on this genocidal campaign in Yemen and vetoed a bill that would cut off these weapons directly supporting war crimes. Bombed Syria, continuing the cycle of violence in the Middle East, despite promises, kept American troops entrenched in Iraq and Afghanistan. Assassinated Qassam Soleimani, the Iranian commander, effectively fighting ISIS and inflaming tensions and risking broader conflict. Because remember, they kept on bringing on Iran. Because remember, they were saying that Iran shot him because of this. They're trying to correlate that to the attempt to orchestrate a coup in Venezuela. Remember that? He unilaterally tore up the Iran nuclear agreement, pushing us closer to a potential nuclear confrontation. Expressed a desire of war with Mexico, given a second term. Criticized Brandon for not aggressively enough in supporting Israel's destruction of Gaza. Surrounded himself with notorious neocon warhawks like Bolton. You talk about draining the swamp. That's That's the stimulus in the swamp. Pompeo, Gina, and Pompeo still friends with it. I think he was at the RNC.
He was at the RNC. Yeah. He spoke one of the nights.
Yeah, exactly. So again, Steve's on Trump the Ranger syndrome. If that means I'm bringing up factual stuff Then again, then who is? I go back to the other meme of people just put their heads in the sand. All right, to JD Vance in this. Here's Whitney Webb on Jimmy Dore's show. Talking about
none of these candidates are going to get in the White House and magically fix everything. It's up to Americans to take individual responsibility for our lives and try and make our communities and ourselves and our families as resilient as possible for all this crazy stuff that's starting to happen, whether it's, problems with the economy, another war, supply chain issues, cyber attacks, whatever. I mean, obviously things are going to get really crazy, and we need to be able to rely on each other and our communities and not rely on the government or big tech to come in and solve all our problems. Big tech wants to lead us to a world where everything we do is dependent on our digital ID and our online activity and how we've been profiled. They want us to go live in the metaverse and all of this stuff. If you don't want that world, it's time to think about what you're going to do about it.
You don't like 15
and start thinking about alternatives.
You don't like the idea of a 15-minute city and CBDCs?
No, I don't. But again, let's keep in mind too, as far as it relates to CBDCs, that it's very possible to have programmable, surveillable money, not just issued by the central bank, but also the big Wall Street banks.
That's right.
Which is exactly what people like Jamie Dimon have talked about doing.
That's right.
And Jamie Dimon is who? Oh, yeah. After Trump's resurrection on the third day last week, he talked about having Jamie Dimon part of his cabinet.
JPM coin
That's
and
right.
things like that. So even though Trump has disavowed CBDCs,
Yes.
he certainly hasn't disavowed programmable, surveillable money. And
That's
in
right.
the United States, it was always most likely to come not from the Fed, but from the Wall Street banks, who in the United States own the Federal Reserve System. The most powerful bank in the Federal Reserve System is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Its largest shareholder is JP Morgan.
That's right. It's very, very depressing to talk to you as always. And
Well, I'm not trying to be depressing. I just think people need to stop looking for political saviors and people who have shown us who they are the first time. And that is definitely Trump. Trump had a major crisis on his hands with COVID. He gave monetary response completely over to his pal, Larry Fink, who has helped engineer this crazy inflationary crisis we are in, along with Steve Mnuchin, his Treasury Secretary the first time. And he had horrible cabinet picks. He promoted pre-crime big tech surveillance when he was in office, among other things. People should know this and know, just not get caught up in campaign rhetoric. It's easy. It's very easy to have that happen, but we need to not be so emotional about how we approach this and think about these things critically and, maybe organize as Americans and try and make a better country, ourselves, and stop waiting for the government to do it when we know it's run by, intelligence agencies and organized crime. Like, these people, they're not going to save us. They're just going to use us however they can, exploit us so that they can continue their lucrative rackets into the next millennia. That's essentially what they've done for a long time. And I think we should say no to those. And essentially every candidate that gets promoted by either of the two parties is going to be backed by that blob of intelligence and organized crime. Otherwise, you don't get those big party nominations.
She ain't wrong. She ain't lying. She ain't lying at all, man. That's all really correct.
Should be common sense.
Well, it's just easier to vote for one person. It's just easier to vote for one person to fix everything. Please fix it. Please fix it. And then they don't. And then they were like, well, we got to vote for the next guy to fix it. Obviously, because this guy couldn't fix it. The next guy's going to fix it, right? Isn't that right, Steve? Please be right. Please, baby. Please.
And we love this guy because
that's just how it goes, folks. And that's really, get upset, don't get upset, doesn't bother me. But the fact of the matter is, unless you focus on locals and unless you focus on strengthening your city council all the way up to your governor, none of this matters. None of this matters. You don't want to have a good governor? Then guess what? They're going to steamroll you with something like COVID. You don't want to have a good sheriff if you can elect that. They're going to break down the door with the red flag law because the ATF's going to pay them for it. If you're not going to support your city council, they're going to go right along and they're going to take the Fed bucks for whatever, roads or schools or whatever the case may be. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I don't think taking over your school board, because teachers are ultimately the ones in the classrooms doing all that kind of stuff. But taking over a school board is a step. It's a step in that direction. You need to have as much local control as possible, because if you don't, you can't complain. I mean, look, folks, I will take the hit on this. I missed the local election in my town. I did. I know. And you know what they did? They approved, and I'm in Texas, they approved a gigantic amount of money to build a football stadium. And we're a small village. They're building a football stadium that will rival some of the 5A schools up in Dallas. A ridiculous amount of money is going to be spent on a football team that's probably not even that good, because they've never really done anything, but they're going to have almost like an arena football league style arena or stadium in my town that's not even that big. And I don't know if my vote would have changed anything, but I didn't participate. That, and you're right. That's right, Brian. School bonds. You know, that's how they do it. Oh, you'll vote for these school bonds and we'll build this stadium. For what? Our football team is terrible. So, it's not like this is not like the NCAA where we're going to build a new stadium and we're going to be able to recruit kids. I mean, maybe, but it's just, you know, I can't, you can take my knee out for, because I didn't participate in my local election, and now I got to pay for it.
Here's a little bit of a TIA. If you don't know what TIA is,
So total information awareness was defunded by Congress not long after it was launched, because every mainstream media outlet, the ACLU and organizations like it across the board said this will end privacy for Americans. It's
Right.
like, it's unconstitutional. So it was defunded.
And why? What did it do? What did it do?
It sucked up. It was going to basically spy on all Americans, total information awareness, right? And decide who was going to commit a crime before it happened.
Yes.
Terror attacks before it happened, bioterror, even pandemics before they happened, which is why a lot of the policies that originally total information awareness proposed came back during the Trump administration during COVID, and Palantir was the contractor for all of those. What do you know?
So,
but anyway.
So TIA, so just
Palantir is who Peter Thiel runs.
to get, so this TIA thing, which came from Maine Core. So TIA, they're going to use.
Well, it's related to Maine
So
Core.
related. So they're going to use every telephone call you ever make, every text you ever make, every Google search, every website you ever go to. They have a way of collecting all of that data.
They collect all of it.
And they put it into a database on you, and they have this kind of capability. And so immediately after this was invented, you're right, all these organizations pushed back against it. So the government said, okay, we're not going to do it anymore. But then Palantir was like, well, we'll do it because we don't have those.
Well,
go ahead.
It's even worse than that. Palantir didn't exist yet. Peter Thiel created Palantir as total information awareness was getting into trouble and experiencing the public backlash. And as they were setting it up, they used Richard Pearl to connect them with Poindexter, who was running total information awareness, about essentially privatizing the program and having Palantir do what TIA, or total information awareness, had intended to do. And total information awareness, though it was housed in DARPA, was intimately pushed and developed with CIA involvement, particularly the chief information officer of the CIA at the time, a guy named Alan Wade, who was actually a business partner of Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, Christine. Fun fact.
So let me just break in just one more side, just so people realize the scope of what we're talking about, because this is really ominous, right? So, and this has been coming for a long time, and now Peter Thiel and Palantir is at the forefront of this. And so Poindexter's and a DARPA program manager, this is from your article, LifeLog this is what they sought to do. They sought to build a database tracking a person's entire existence that included an individual's relationships and communications, meaning phone calls, mail, email, all, plus their media consumption habits, their purchases, and much more, in order to build a digital record of, quote, everything an individual says, sees, or does.
Jeez.
LifeLog
Yeah,
would,
this program was LifeLog. Yeah.
they would, this is LifeLog. They would then take this unstructured data and organize it into discrete episodes or snapshots while also mapping out relationships, memories, events, and experiences. This seems so Aldous Huxley crazy futuristic,
Yes.
but it's not future. It's here now. And they have
And it
these
happened decades ago.
and so the
Yeah.
person in charge of this right now, or the person pushing it in the private sector, would be Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel is now responsible for J.D. Vance's funding and getting J.D. Vance connected with Donald Trump, and for being a big funder of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's campaign right now. And so that's why this is all important.
Yeah, it's also important because Palantir is really a CIA front company.
And we should talk about that CIA thing. Here's one from back. Let's rewind the day. Oh, by the way, did you know last Monday was the anniversary of Benjamin Netanyahu's dad being a terrorist?
Nope, but great
Yeah,
job.
He blew up a few buildings. You know, like father, like son.
In your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster? Mr. Chairman.
I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was, but I wanted to get his
May I most
confirmation.
respectfully request that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks.
Don't talk about that. No, shush.
Not something you did not see that, ladies and gentlemen. You did not see that. Remember that. Shh. Be quiet, because your government hates you, and you are just a slave to the machine. So you might as well just deal with it. As long as you subscribe to the system that we are currently dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
And that's this system that's, literally replacing deck chairs on the Titanic. Nobody talked. I mean, I talked about this, and a couple other people did last week, because everybody was so enamored with Hulk Hogan and the RNC that they were like, "Oh yeah, it's hard to get home." The folks, Crowdstrike went down because they pushed out a patch that had and by the way, the tech guys know better than I do. You don't push out patches without testing them. You test them first. You don't just send out a mass patch on something to fix it. It literally had null written into the code, so it was pulling from nothing. And it was so bad, people had to physically reboot computers. That, I don't know if you were seeing it on X and all these other places. Some guy was in the airport. He's like, "I can fix that if you want. All I got to do." He's like, "We can't do anything. You have to wait for an official person to come in and fix it." He's like, "I can reboot it and just fix it. It'll take me 5 minutes." Like, no, we have to wait because everybody's too stupid to actually fix their own stuff. You have to wait for the official IT guy to show up and actually do it. So, that's it is what it is on that. It's
The
not
event
great.
the event 201 of cyber stuff. Cyber Polygon talked about that a couple years ago. It's I heard a New World Next Week said this too. Said that if I didn't know about it when it went down. It's kind of just if you weren't online, you didn't know. Which, in a sense, that just shows that we're online way too much. And probably not a good idea to have literally everything being digitalized. By the way, I went through that link a little too quick. This will bring on, because we talked about this a couple weeks ago, House Democrats to fight bill requiring proof of U.S. citizenship of the vote.
The SAFE Act.
Yeah, the SAFE Act. And one of the guys I saw on here, I thought I had it up. Mike Lee was talking about, it's like, bring in the SAFE Act. We got it, because it's all about keeping the voting, and we got to make sure that you're going to be, your vote counts, and who's going to be against that idea? Whereas, by the way, this is also going down.
My question is to the Minister for Finance, Minister Gallagher. Minister, you recently announced your government's plan for a national digital ID by mid-2024, thereabouts. There is significant concern in the community around this potential rollout. Australians are concerned about their privacy, their data security, and the potential for misuse in the future. Minister, it has been said that this digital ID will also be accessed by private corporations and institutions. Can you confirm, if you know, which private corporations or institutions will be granted access to personal identification information? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Babet. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Babet for the question and for the heads up.
I'd like to thank you all very much. You're some koala bears.
Digital ID bill into the Senate in the Australian Parliament, and make no mistake.
I remember Australia was kind of like an experimental state for Rona.
Australia was terrible. They were literally putting people in camps.
Yeah.
Very concerning piece of legislation. What this bill is going to do is set up a framework for a digital ID system, which ultimately is going to be the centerpiece of everything you do in your life, whether it's banking, whether it's medical, you name it, this bill is going to control it. And don't let them tell you it's going to be voluntary, because we've seen that before. Safe and effective, remember, nothing's voluntary.
Now they
so what I want you to do is do 4 things for me. First of all, I want you to sign my petition.
Just like here, you're going to be forced to do that, or you're not going to be able to participate in anything. Eventually, again, you're going to have to use that digital ID, not just for voting, but to, say, buy groceries or something like that. And again, what they just talked about with programmable currency. Yeah, I know. Remember Trump a couple of years ago said he was against CBDC. We brought it up on the show maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But programmable, I mean, words matter just like everything else. Again, you just heard Peter Thiel, and you got look up stuff like on Technocracy. I was thinking, I couldn't think of the guy's name that runs it. Just look up technocracy.news and you'll see stuff like this.
And I think it is a little ironic that you guys are screaming about privacy and all this stuff. It was like 4 years ago when you need to do that, not now. That when the camel's nose was under the tent, that's when you guys were supposed to do it. But safe and effective.
You want to get in your girl?
Sure. Show it to her, Steve. Show her. Steve's not there, that's why.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Because I totally put the phone up to my head on speaker.
Good to hear you both. I can't have this phone call.
Dude, that's not even, the phone's not even on.
My girl Kamala, I am
It's on
proud of
speaker.
you.
There's a name right there.
Yeah, who holds the phone up to their ear on speaker?
We called to say Michelle and I
camera
couldn't be
needs to
prouder
hear it.
to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness.
That's AI. It's
Michelle,
so
Brock, this means so
woody.
You can make that easily with
I'm
AI.
looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship.
Here's the real Kamala.
All right. Let me know when to start. Now? Hi, Michelle.
This girl's gonna make
and
so much money.
Do it again? Okay. Well, look who it is. It's Big Mike and Barack. Crap. All right. Take 49. Oh, thank you so much. And your endorsement means so much to me. Even though I didn't have it the first time. Yes, the time to act is now. Now is the time to act. And I will be doing what we promised we will be doing. And that time is every day. Doing what we had to cut. They said to cut. I was trying something different from unburdening what has been. That was your direction. I think the American people are coming around to it. Michelle, this is the 73rd take. Alright? I have to get off my feet. You know, my knees are killing me. They're working knees, you know. It is my honor to receive your endorsement. I consider you both great friends. You have taught myself and Joe everything that we need to know about transparency. And I will lead with full transparency in this presidential campaign.
Border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People gonna have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
You know, look at Andrew Yang. Hi, I'm Andrew Yang, and I'm here too.
Always believe the media.
Yep. Yeah. That's next. That's how Trump's he's gonna counter. He's gonna bring out Hawk to a girl. Hawk to a girl, Hogamania 2028.
That you see Fox News? That's the lady. The guy goes, she was the original Hawk to a girl.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the guy who's like, I'm trying to be viral and cool and funny and hip. What's up, young kids? It's like, get out of here.
What was the latest thing right now is Trump says he's not going to do any debates with her, which
listen, she's not the nominee. So why does he have to? I mean, if you're going to look at this, let's remove the fact that we think it's staged, Steve, and got me saying Big Mike now. If she's not the nominee, why do I have to talk to her?
Yeah.
Nominate her, and then I'll debate her. I agreed to debate the old man who had the nomination, and I'm not going to jump in and debate. I mean, also she's going to laugh the whole time, and it's going to be annoying. Kamala, shut up.
How many
shut up, Kamala? Be quiet.
Depressed that there won't be a Brandon Trump Part D.
Yeah, right.
There's people that probably took days off to see all four of them, and now they just ripped their hearts out of that entertainment.
Yeah,
or
that's right.
Freak Elastic versus DJT. Trump should just say, you know what? I can't do a Trump voice. I'm just going to kick back, sit back. I'm going to let my friend Tulsi take care of this.
You know what? We're going to make this like gladiatorial games. You guys have selected Kamala. I select Tulsi to fight in my honor. She will fight for me. She's going to do a great job. Great job, Tulsi. Good friend. Good friend. You know, some of the guys say she looks nice. I don't because I'm married to Melania, but that's okay. That's all right. She's going to fight and she's going to win. Go get him. And
he just sits back. He just sits back and maybe says something every so often. Maybe get her a drink or
he should go to the debate and just sit in the corner. And he doesn't drink, but just sit in the corner and eating like a bucket of fried chicken because you know he loves fast food. Just eating that right in front of him. He just good job. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah. Oh, we got you there. There you go. But that's
the switch from everyone trashing her to now propping her up as the
she has been spun up as she is the first TikTok politician, if you think about it, because they poured all kinds of money into her campaign. And then all of a sudden on YouTube, she's got ads all over YouTube. She's got ads all over TikTok. She appeared on RuPaul's drag show. She's like, y'all have to get out and vote and all this other. She went from a joke on Friday of last week to being the cool hip black lady, even though she's Indian American. She's Indian Jamaican.
One reason
she transitioned into being black. She's not.
There's a video of her buying some albums, and someone wrote, "Well, if you were like this, why didn't you have them already?" There's some old school albums, but there's no way in God's green earth they're going to let. She's the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah,
as they brought up before. When that's probably, and actually, it's one reason why I don't think Michelle will be. This only reason why Michelle's not in this one. There ain't no way in God's green earth you can stand up to DJT after 2 weeks ago. That whoever's up is going to lose. And Brandon was done. He's like done unless you bring in. Maybe Michelle could be. Outside of that, nobody.
No.
You do not
They're
win.
saving. They're going to let him come in because we've talked about this before. He's going to take the blame for the economy going into the pooper and all of this other stuff. And they're setting themselves up. Guys, you got to realize they play the long game. They're waiting for 2028. They're playing for 2028. That's why Whitmer, Newsom, all of them are like, yeah, we're good.
There's no. Why would you do it? Why would you go in and get just embarrassed
and demolished?
She's the sacrificial lamb. They could trot her out, let her do it, give her some experience, maybe.
The Democrats get to check off another thing because they're all about checklists. We had the first woman of color running for president. That's why they're going to tap. That's probably not the best word to use. That's why they're going to select Buttigieg from Indiana. He's going to be the VP because then they can say we had the first openly blah, blah, blah as the vice president. And when they get the brakes beaten off of them in the general, they'll say, well, America wasn't ready for such a progressive ticket and blah, 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 blah. They can call you racist and sexist and homophobic. And they have all the excuses built out to keep the division going. That's why they're like, oh, they're going to pick this white guy or that white. None of these white dudes are going to, they're not going to pick Vanilla Ice, which you can play that now because that's a tradition. We play that every week. You're not going to pick white bread to be on the ticket with Kamala. That does nothing. They tried it before in 2016 with Tim Kaine. I brought this up this morning. They used Tim Kaine to try to kill white America, but everybody was like, yeah, no, you're good, buddy. You're fine. So they're going to pick Buttigieg because Buttigieg and Kamala brings the white women solidly back in line with the Democrats because there's white women will not miss an opportunity to vote for a woman of color and a gay guy.
Yeah, I'm surprised they talked about Shapiro, whose only claim to fame was going after the church during that summer, but that's what propelled him up to the governorship of Pennsylvania. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought Pete would be the number one right off the bat because you got her, and what are you gonna do, free and queer or something like that as the as the logo or the motto, whatever. It just felt right for their ticket to be that. But if she did win, even normies would be out there going, this is rigged. Ain't no way they're going to let that go through and say, oh, yeah, we're going to let really anybody go. She doesn't draw flies. She got to embarrass the DNC.
She didn't win one delegate in 2020.
0 to the first.
She didn't win one delegate in 2020. She had to drop out before it got to California because she didn't want to get embarrassed from her own home state.
Yeah, and the only reason why she's got the money for now is because she's on the ticket. So she can be used. It's a strategic thing. They can bring the money in because she could use it because she's already in the position. If they bring somebody else in, I think Jamie Harrison, sorry, he's from South Carolina. I think he was talking about if there was so many loopholes or whatever for somebody else to come in, does this money go here? Because again, people sent the money to be for a certain person. So if the certain person is not that certain person anymore, wouldn't you as a donor, I want my money back. I'm not wanting this guy right here. We got to start this thing all over. So it goes back to he's the first after the selection to be in this position because Chicago, it's in Chicago, DNC was it next week or a couple weeks? The king of riots. The last time they had it was a big riot.
That's why half of it's virtual.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't even have to show up for the nomination. She can stay wherever she is. And only the losers who want to go to Chicago for some reason will go. But nobody's going to be there. It's all going to be virtual.
Who knows what the script is going to keep going? If you thought this was on your your bingo card, you probably lying to
just throw it out.
I mean, we did think, hey, this is looking like it, but 3 weeks ago, no one really is going, oh yeah, they're going to do this. This is how this is going to go down. This, you didn't have this field of 64 broken down like, oh, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. We don't know what in the world is going to happen next couple of weeks or next few months. It will be entertaining. It will be a distraction for everything else that's going on. But at the end, you're going to get digital ID, CBDC, technocracy 2.0. It's not going to be pretty.
No. Of course, we're all waiting the most important part. When will Tay-Tay come out and endorse Kamala? Because that's the only thing that matters to the Democrats. When will Taylor Swift make her official endorsement of Kamala Harris? But outside of that, what?
Will she make a song? Is that what?
Yeah, she'll be. That's their ticket to the DNC, is having her come out and sing about something racist or whatever, and that'll be it for them. But yeah, folks, this is completely set up. This has been one of these things that also with Shapiro, just from once again, remove all of what, if you're looking at it from a strategic point of view, there's a certain reason why you can't pick Shapiro, because the entire youth of the Democratic Party hates that one thing about him. You want to see riots now, put him on the VP, put him as a VP and see what happens. So they can't do it for that reason.
Oh, I found that Mike Lee thing. Pass the SAVE Act now.
Yeah. Go ahead and do it. So that way we can just steamroll the digital ID. Let's just, let's get that done. Whew. Excuse me.
Somebody give him some coffee.
Yeah. I've already gone through a cup of coffee and an energy drink. So I think I'm not like Steve. I need 4 more Jocko energy drinks to keep myself going right now. So I think it's time for Saint of the Week and Cry Room. Cry Room, I'm calling it. It's the entire democratic process. Brandon, it can be Brandon, it can be Kamala, it can be Big Mike. I don't care. It's the entire democratic process. It could be people who are worshiping Trump. That's our Cry Room. Who you got for Saint of the Week?
Who do I got for Saint of the Week? I'm gonna go with Abbeville Institute. They've been constantly, that's Brian McClanahan, the Professor Livingston, Professor DeRosa, Florida Atlantic. They put out a video a couple weeks ago on Virginia First. It's got 20,000 views for a channel. It's only got 14,000 subscribers. Check it out, watch it. It's about an hour and a half long. Basically, the thing of it is talk about how we're living in a Northeast Puritan mindset of governing, where California wants Virginia to be California, or New York wants Alabama to be like New York. Whereas the opposite view of it is we wake up in the morning, we're like, you know what? I just like to be able to go get whatever I want. I want to go get some, real milk. I want to go down and get this. I want to do this. Oh, something's wrong in my area, like an HOA. Well, we're going to call it. We're going to talk to the person directly that's an influence, or our local guy, which is 5 minutes away. Or as one guy brings up about local and state governments, one thing about it is where they live. That's how you can control things like that. When you don't have control in DC, which is wherever you are, it's probably over 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away, 500 miles away. If you're in somewhere Oregon, good luck getting you can knock on that door in DC. And again, it's the ratio is 900,000 to 1 representatives to representative. So it's trying to get back into localism, subsidiary, decentralization. So they've been pounding out videos for years. I hope more people go to them and check out what they're saying, because a lot of people are just like they brought up about the slavery thing. Most people are so indoctrinated, thinking that they know what, just parroting what you're taught to after the 1870s. Really, no. I didn't know. Shoot, I'm still learning stuff all the time on there about like the Tocqueville talking about, warning about the centralized state that was going, and how many people were warning about that, and what Alexander Stevens, who everyone brings up, how talks about how he was he's the one guy that they try to slam for being pro-slavery. I think they're going after him because he was warning about the centralized way everything was going. And there's a quote, I got to bring it up. I should have had it ready. But he's talking about how terrifying and destructive that the end game of centralization is totalitarianism. I'm going, well, you gotta vilify that guy, because then everything else. Don't listen to him. He's one of those the Neanderthals that wants to enslave everyone. You get into the whole, you start peeling away at the onion. a brand new world shows up, and you're going, well, we've been lied to for years and years. Well, except we weren't lied to 2 weeks ago, apparently, but we've been lied to every other time. But
yes,
my cry room is and again, it goes back to Legion. I'll go with Franklin Graham, son of Billy Graham, because Frankie put out a tweet that Ben Carson had talking about the Constitution was God sent in heaven, divinely inspired document. And he retweeted out. Good enough people were just trashing it left and right, going, hey, come on now. It's the Americanism religion, in a sense, going back to this Protestant idea of the rapture, which is all these Zionists going, oh, it's in the world. We got Christ, the rapture is coming. We love Israel because reasons that Protestant scripture says it is. And the whole kabuki theater that you see from yesterday going, all those people that you see that says that they're for you, they care about Israel. That's it.
Okay. My cry room, I already said DNC.
Who's your saint of the week?
My saint of the week, I can't connect it, but it's from the AP News. It is a nameless hero. AP News, town employee quietly lowered fluoride in water for years. I don't know who he is, but sir, you're a king. So they didn't.
Derrick Rose is trying to do that. He did that in Houston. There's quite a few movements I know that are local movements trying to do that here. Now in Charlotte on the southeast side, what's the name of the city? Very wealthy city. It's $2 million homes. They're trying to push the city to get fluoride out of water too. So it's moving along again locally. Think locally, act locally. If you want to try to get DC to end fluoride in your water, pass the hookah pipe.
Right. Okay. Why I addressed this at the beginning of the show. If you were late, I made I returned a question. Somebody asked me first. Somebody put up a thirst post about Lauren Boebert. It was before she was in Congress and got the glam up at our tax dollars. And she, in her restaurant, all her waitresses carried guns. That was her big thing. But they used Serpa holsters. And Serpa holsters are trash because the locking mechanism is right over the trigger. That's their big claim to fame. And a lot of people have said I've never used it because I'm not an idiot, that when you push on the lock, when you unlock the gun and bring the gun up, your finger's already pressed down. So people have a lot of negligent discharges. They shoot themselves in the leg and the foot and so forth. So I responded to this nice person. There's nothing wrong with Serpa holsters unless you want to shoot yourself in the leg. And as soon as I wrote shoot yourself in the leg, Twitter locked my account for 7 days, despite the fact that I appealed and said I was talking about Serpa holsters and I wasn't threatening violence to anybody. That is why you can follow me if you want to get my hot takes and everything. If you miss me that much and you miss interacting with me, you can go to the I have a backup account on Twitter, Twix, called Armed Catholic _. That's where I will be for the next 7 days or 6 days and whatever many hours it is now. Armed Catholic _ that's where I am. So yes, I'm not very happy with Twix right now. Twix can go pound every. They're in my cry room. Forget that. Forget the DNC. Twitter's in my cry room. You bunch of morons.
Hey, did you see breaking news? Did you see Southwest is ending their open seat policy?
Good, because it stinks. I hate it.
They had 2 violations the last couple months. Apparently, one was some plane flew 150 feet off the ground.
Oh,
for
yeah,
5 miles.
That was like a week before I flew up to New York for the Catholic land movement. I was like, I'm gonna die in one of these planes.
Oh, we just scanned over this. I remember when I was in Denver, so this was 5 years ago. They were floating the idea of surveillance, visual, what do they call it? Facial recognition, I'm sorry, in airports. So Denver was one, Baltimore was another, and Atlanta was the third. Today, there's 430 airports doing it now.
Yeah, I had to do it when I went through Albany, when I came back. That's how that's how Homeland Security did it. You put in your ID, and then you took a facial scan. Yep.
Can't wait for a couple more years. Look at the clown planet we're living in.
Folks, please start a GoFundMe for one of these for me, so I don't have to actually fly anymore. That would be fantastic. I'll take a
I
Springfield.
don't travel anyway, so it's not going to bother me. It's not.
I'm a traveling guy. I'd like one of my trashy trailers. I'll take one, please. As you can see,
get a horse. You're gonna need some horses.
Yeah, right. I'm not Amish. Let's
Well,
not
I mean,
get
if
there.
you're going to buy gas, you're going to need digital ID. You're going to have programmable money.
Well, if I got to buy food for the horse, I'm going to need that too. So,
well, you just start growing some kutza and they'll feed them all, and because that's, I mean,
am I going to put a carrot in front of them?
No, just lay it on the ground. It'll just go everywhere. They'll feed off it. It's actually, you can eat it too. It's got great vitamins, minerals in it. It's just it gets a bad rep, and it used to be good for used to be used for grazing, but they got rid of it for some reason. And now it's just on the side of the roads. But no, you just feed the horses that, and they take that. It's free.
Maybe we'll see. If I can get enough horses to carry one of those, I'll be good. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of News from the Pew. Please like, subscribe, and share the News from the Pew. We will talk to you guys next week. God bless, and Viva Cristo Rey.